But what about the governing New Patriotic Party? We know that the NPP will be next in line looking for its next leader. There's a caution from the head of the political science department at the University of Ghana, Professor Seidu, who's been wading into this whole contest and internal primaries between the National Democratic Congress, within the National Democratic Congress and the governing New Patriotic Party. But he has a warning for leaders of the NPP not to skew the processes to favor a political party candidate who he believes is right now serving in power. He explains why when I went to him at the department.
Wrap up on the NPP. The natural political cycle as we know it is 8 years, at least in the fourth democratic dispensation. But now there's a political party that says they are in to break the 8. Over 3 or 4 names, in fact close to 7, I can count Kennedy Ejapon, the likes of the former energy minister Boache Jakun. There's Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia who's saying it is possible. Alan says it is his time. And we have the good old, for instance, the former commissioner from ECOWAS, Dr. Konedu Apraku, also running the race. He's been doing that since. Why do you feel there's so much interest in the NPP's top slot as compared to that of the National Democratic Congress?
I think the NDC is also competitive.
Yeah, right? But there's 3 of them, 7 people so going in for that of the governing party.
Because it's incumbent party, people think that it may be the chances of winning on that ticket it may be easier because they're in government, they have incumbency advantage, and there are a whole lot of other things that favor them. But it is also possible that the kind of leader that you elect can also necessitate your victory or your defeat. So, but also if you look at other indicators, we always say in political science nomenclature that every election is a census on the performance of the incumbent. So, and if you look at currently our economic indicators and other indicators, it's not that good. If you look at global rankings on corruption perception, on the Moody's, all the economic variables, press freedom, and all those things, it's not improving. So the current census is not that good. But the party and the people who are competing are still very confident that they are going to break the 8. So it's a matter of confidence. Maybe there are a lot of things they know that we don't know, and maybe perhaps the kind of leader that they elect may be able to turn things around, breathe fresh air into the campaign processes, and knowing that the era of His Excellency Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo is coming to an end. The other candidate can campaign on a point of departure from the incumbent government, that I am exceptional in this, and when I'm given the nod, I can do things differently like the current government that I am part is doing. So I think the whole concept of the interest is the fact that it's an incumbent government, and incumbency advantage, we all know in African politics, is very, very essential, and it can bring you a lot of benefit. So it has always been so, and even in 2017, 2018, we had about 17 people putting themselves up to lead the party.
So it's the usual thing for the NPP.
Yeah, so now that's the more reason why they have put in a clause in the constitution that now limits the number to 5 if there are more than that. So there will be a super delegates that will put on the number to 5, and then the 5 will now go for the main election. So it's naturally given that when you are in a position to dispense benefit and to make a lot of determinations that border on the lives and destiny of people, everybody will want to lead in a party like that.
But then, since 2 individuals, very prominent, have made their decisions known, of course, and for the sake of time, I would want us to zoom in and talk about these 2 individuals. We have the former Trade Minister, who was one of the very first to come out to say, I'm leaving government, I'm walking out, and I'm doing that because I want to succeed President Akufo-Addo. Right after he does that and says it is his time, then the Vice President says, I'm looking at that as well. Well, it's not fully confirmed if indeed he will run, but he's spoken to at least members of parliament who have confirmed to us that he may be in the race. should we go for convention, as many would say, or this should also be a democratic process, in your view?
I still support democratic process, whether it's NDC or NPP. And I think if you look at the number of people who have put themselves up, you can say technically it's a two-horse race between the vice president and then the former finance minister, Honorable Alan.
Yeah, former trade.
Former trade. Honorable Alan Kojo Chairman. So it's a two-horse race between these two, and they've all had history in the past, especially with Alan. Alan has been in the party. He has contested the current president on 3 different occasions, if not more, and has paid his one of the traditionists of the traditional NPP political party, and NPP espouses traditionalism and sacrifices you've made to the party, your contribution, and bidding your time for leadership positions. So if you're going to go on that tangent of espousing the traditionalistic perspective of the NPP as a political party, looking at how far you have stayed in the party, how competitive you've been, people will have said naturally it should be Alan who should lead, because he has been there, he has made concessions on a number of times, he has contested on a number of times. But there's also this other opinion that says that traditions are not cast in stones, and sometimes your performance and your diligence and your intelligence can also propel you to a position of leadership. And those who support the vice presidential candidate's bid, often the vice president's bid often use that element of what he has done, even though previously he wasn't an NPP person, but he's come to the party, he's injected energy, he's been there, he's done this, the petition, and all those things that he has done. But now I think what the NPP needs to do is to create a free, fair, enabling environment for the competition to occur. Electoral competition.
Do you see that playing out
for now? It still look a bit skewed. Right. To be honest with you, it still look a bit skewed towards a particular candidate than other candidates, and that competence for trouble in the party. Electoral competitiveness and internal democratic processes should allow for a fair, transparent, neutral, free. You see, when you're talking about the NDC, I said the party must stay clear from the competition and allow it to occur naturally. So at the end of the day, the person who wins will have the legitimacy and the confidence to believe that he won freely, fairly, and squarely, and be able to lead. But if there are a lot of trappings, there are a lot of deliberate undermining of other candidates in favor of one candidate and those things, it creates deeper cracks in the party. And if those cracks cannot be mended, it will create a lot of danger. For now, the NPP as an incumbent party is already against the odds in terms of the census principle, that there are a lot of challenges that this government is facing, there are a lot of challenges that Ghanaians are facing. One, in terms of the tenure principle, the traditional tenure of staying for 8 years is against, there are a lot of things that are against them. So I think the best bet now is to elect a candidate who is a unifier, a candidate that can be trusted, a candidate that will have the support of all people within the party, but also Ghanaians at large, and a candidate that can sell at the presidential level. It's not what the party likes. At the end of the day, if all NPP supporters vote for a particular candidate, that candidate cannot win until he gets support from other floating voters and other well-meaning voters. And those voters, they are not party people. They look at your track record, they look at what you have said in the past and what you are saying and whether they contradict or they tally. So it's all about credibility. It's all about being able to unite people. It's all about knowing what is right at what particular time and doing it. So I will rather the party stay clear of the processes and doesn't seem to be imposing a particular candidate or gravitating towards a particular candidate and leaving all the other candidates that are competing.
When you say it's skewed looking at it from the perspective of the national leadership of the party, or this is being engineered by the government appointees? So people believe it's actually a governmental decision, whipping in line. One can file from the national up to the grassroots level. Ministerial
appointed government officials, and the pronouncements they make in support of one candidate, and that is nothing. When they make similar pronouncement against another candidate, they are summoned for disciplinary action. And so you tend to see that when people who support Alan speaks or do something in support of Alan, the party is very quick to take action and say you are in breach of party conventions, right? But it's different when they do for any other candidate. So you tend to see that maybe the people from the Alan, they've had reasons to complain, they've had reasons to think that the processes are not fair. Whether that is real or perceived, it has an implication on party unity moving forward. So I would rather the NPP as a party to deepen internal democracy and move this country forward should, as much as possible, create the enabling environment and allow the delegates to decide. At the end of the day, the person that, or the individual that the delegates choose, the party now rally behind that individual and sell that person with all the might that they have. And I think they'll have the surest bet of being more competitive and doing better in 2024 than when they begin to have deeper cracks. And you see that in the history of this country, it is the UP tradition which have suffered the consequence of internal cracks. I think 79.
Having the three-way splits. So, do you feel that may happen this time around if the internal elections is not handled properly?
I can't predict what may happen, but the idea is that when people feel the processes were unfair, they've been marginalized, they've not been treated well, there is the initial inclination, as humanly as we are, to also want to revenge or take a decision that also affect the system or the establishment. So that's usually the first point of thinking. But I'm not sure whether what's going to happen. Maybe when it gets to the election, the processes will be free to be fair. If you lose, you know you lost decently, and then you congratulate the winner, and then you move forward. But if the structures are seen not to be that, even in the NDC, you know, the Commander to Four Camp is also complaining. You understand? So it's also think the processes are not free, fair, and once people begin to speak about these things, it means a lot of things has happened. That's why they are coming out. And if party hierarchy disregard those complaints, then it bubbles up to what? Something that will happen that we'll all regret. And that may be those divisions. So I think as it stands now, I will hazard to say that it's a two-horse race between Alan and then Bawumia. And each of these candidates can do well, but what I am thinking is that the party should let the internal democratic processes take its course, free of interference, and the one that the delegates decide should lead the party should be the one they should all rally around to move the party forward.
Your final take. Breaking the eight or breaking the attempt to break the eight, which one will work or play out in the 2024 election?
So I think for now I will applaud all the two political parties for taking internal democratic processes seriously. It's one of the cardinal principles of building and consolidating national democracy. Breaking the eight or unable to break the eight is a decision that is solely vested with Ghanaian voters. And Ghanaian voters over the years have proven to be very, very rational, whether it is rational based on self-benefit or rational based on collective national interest. But at least there is something that they always vote for. And what they vote for may differ from one particular person to the other. Some people, it's what you give them, money, flash screen. Others, it's about their party. I will never betray my party. Even if I'm not happy with my party, I'll stay at home rather than vote for the other party. Others, they look at the caliber, the quality of the candidate you put forward. So, and I think over the years from 2012, I think even from 2018, 2012, 2016, 2020, we've tended to see more Ghanaians gravitating towards the rational model and making decisions that is informed by rational tendencies than just because my party is in government or my party is in opposition. So I think if you look at all the odds, I will tend to side with the EIU report that the NDC, if they play their acts well, will likely be able to do better in 2024. The only caveat is that from now up to 2024 is a lot of time, and anything can happen in elections.
So the EIU report is scientific enough to give us a sense of what may happen?
Yes, so polls are usually an indication. At the present moment. So it's based on, when we do opinion poll, we usually ask the question, most of the one we used to do the announce if elections were held today or now. So it means at the time that they had conducted the polls, the NDC is favored to win if election were held on that day. But from now out to maybe December 2024, it's a whole lot of time, and a lot of things can still happen to change the Ghanaian voters' decision-making behavior. And I still think that polls by the EIU is just a wake-up call to both the NDC and the NPP, and no one should take it as is favoring him and it's a done deal thing. A lot of work has to be done for both the NDC and the NPP, so that the Ghanaian will make a very informed, rational, reasonable
But they are really hard on the economic part, the economic reasons for which they believe it will be difficult for the NPP to retain power. You are confident that some changes may happen, and that the economy could be turned around within this space of time?
Yeah, what people usually will do is that maybe government will borrow more money and they try to get a lot of money to show up the economy up to the election period. So get into election period, doesn't matter where they get the money. They will make sure they get the money stable, the currency, and then the fundamentals, and campaign on it. Then when we vote, then we'll move back to serious challenges and troubles. And they have done that. If you look at the electoral cycle business model, that's what usually happens. You run up to the election, government borrows money, they look for money elsewhere, take money from other sectors, and then show up the economy and make sure that the economy looks decent or stable. Then after the elections, when things begin to unfold, you see what. So you look at the run up to 2020, what we did, and look at the mess that we are in now. So even if it is artificial for the elections, governments will do that. But it now depends on the Ghanaian to think whether what is done is actually done for their interest or it's just done to win the elections. And that will still inform the way they vote.
Prof, thank you for talking.
Thank you so much for the opportunity.
Of course, in the lead up.
And that's Professor Seidu with his views on the upcoming race of the New Patriotic Party. You're watching the Pulse on the Joy News channel. We'll be back shortly. When we return, we'll talk about some more happenings here in Accra. Please stay.